everybody. Here we go, Disclosure Fest. And this is the deal. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And today we are welcoming one of my closest friends who has been part of Disclosure Fest from virtually the very beginning. And that is Billy Carson. Billy, welcome.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be back.
You know, Billy, you and I, this is what is so great for everybody that's watching us today here on Disclosure Fest, is that you and I are very close friends. Yeah. And we talk all the time. I'm on your stuff, you're on my stuff. We've been working together. And what is so great about that? It's that you and I got all the other stuff out of the way years ago.
That's right.
We are able to just cut to the chase. Yeah. And discuss things that we haven't discussed before and break new ground. And there is a circle of trust between the two of us. And you know I'm going to step out of bounds, right? You know this is going to happen, but you trust me for that. And you are willing to step out of bounds sometimes with our conversations. And are you ready, man?
Absolutely. I'm more than ready. I'm excited. I'm pumped up.
Now let's I always say this with you. Let's start here because there's so many directions that we can go in. Mm-hmm. But you and I have always focused, not always, but have done a large amount of our focusing on past civilizations, what they were learning and teaching each other, and how amnesia has set in, and we have forgotten more than we have remembered from all of the important lessons of the past. And that's where we are today. Here we are. The world is in flux. Things are a little bit crazy right now. Right. Should we be looking at the past and what we have been warned about from maybe Egypt or maybe a Greek, Roman times or further back?
Well, you know, you hit it right on the head because the past is prologue. And we really need to look into the past because the past really is going to become our future. Sometimes when I'm posting content online or talking at lectures and I'm talking about the ancient past, certain people, not a lot of people, but certain people make these comments or gestures as to why am I focusing on the past when I should be focused on the problems we have now? And I try to explain to them, like, you don't understand. We have to understand what happened back then. We have to get as close to the truth as possible. The lessons to be learned are in the past, and that is how you effectively change the future. And so when we look into the past, we need to look at all the different, civilizations, whether it's Greek, Roman, Egyptian, all the way back, even as far as you can get back to Lemuria. I mean, we need to go back as far as we can, and we need to study each civilization, how they rise and what caused them to fall. Because so far to date, I haven't seen one civilization sustain itself eternally. It seems that there is a rise and a fall. How can we break this cycle? And the answer to that is in the past.
Is it as simple as that in the past, they were able to focus on the self without distractions of technology? And do you understand what I'm saying? Where today we have distractions all day long. Mm-hmm. They were able to focus on the mind, on consciousness, on family, on society, on the development of the self and the perfection of the self, which would include the power of the brain and the power of the mind and taking advantage of all of that. Is it as simple as that? Or is it that we just are a technocracy today? Where we don't have time to focus on the self, don't care about it. We're more focused on cell phones with flashlights on them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's that's a great question because it's a little bit of both. Now, when you look into, like, for example, if I go into a civilization, the ancient Egyptians, for example,
right?
They had an era before the invasion started happening in the dynastic period, where all they focused on was the self, was on knowledge, was on wisdom. They would travel to Australia to sit with Aboriginal elders and get knowledge and wisdom. They focused on art and painting and music and all these types of things instead of focusing on war. Yeah, they didn't even have a military.
That's exactly it. That's right. That's right. Well, and to stay focused on this for a second, when they changed, okay, well, no, actually, they evolved, but they went through about 1,500, almost 2,000 years that are documented, by the way. It's a much longer period, but if we just focused on what is documented, right? That documented part of history, 2,000 years of arts, entertainment, fun, religion, family, science, right?
Yeah.
The religion, they teaching, songs, music, everything was about the self
Yeah.
without any concerns of invading another country. They didn't bog themselves down with the thought of killing another human being.
Right.
They literally did that for 2,000 years. And they did that longer than from when Cleopatra died until now.
Yeah.
Right? Now that's an extraordinarily long time to develop the mind and arts and culture.
Yeah, that was their golden time. That was their golden era. And unfortunately, some people from the outside noticed that they were focused on self, and they realized they didn't even have an army, and they began invading. Egypt was invaded and taken over 7 times. So that was the fall of their dynasty, or their era of their golden age, so to speak. But there's always in the past, there's these things that you can glimpse these lessons from. And I think right now, when you're talking about the technology that we're all addicted to, in a lot of ways, technology has made the world easy, but it has made us more ignorant in a lot of things. It has taken away a lot of our own personal knowledge of self. It has taken away our own recognition of self, and it put a lot of the power of what we want to say to recognize us, or self-gratification, in the hands of others. Does this person like what I put out? Does this person like my information? Is my knowledge good? Is this information I'm putting over here good? Instead of becoming your own cheerleader and looking internally, we've kind of now, technology has sent us external. And a lot of the children these days, unfortunately, haven't, they have this computer in their hand, and they haven't really learned anything in school. They've learned how to take tests. But overall, the vast majority, the knowledge is not retainable, because it's all inside of this thing. It's push a couple of buttons and get the answers, instead of having to know what the answer is, like we were when we were in school. We had to know the answers. Google didn't exist back then.
Yeah, I don't think that we thought, and I'm talking about the world, including the United States, but I don't think that anybody thought that we would again repeat the past. We would become a divided culture, that we would lose sense of family and consciousness, and helping others and what was right, that we were on a path to doing that, and there was no way that it could happen again. These civilizations and minds and cultures that failed in the past weren't going to repeat themselves, that we had learned from that. And here we are today, where the things that make consciousness great, and helping others, and being different is great. It's an awesome, look at you and I, couldn't be any more different. I would talk about vegan food, but I'm not going to. But the point being is, you and I couldn't be more different. Right? You're an athlete. I'm the opposite of athlete. We can just start right there. But we are great friends, and we listen to each other. I don't agree with everything that you say, or everything that you believe. And certainly it's the same thing with you and I, or others. And that's what makes this world great.
Yeah.
And now we are divided. Shouldn't we be learning from these lessons of the past? If things go sideways, instead of a conscious, awakening, moving, helping others future, we're doomed, just like the past.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, a lot of this, in this era right now, a lot of people are becoming a little over emotional. Everything gets somebody sent into this emotional whirlwind. And like you said, there may be some things that I say or post or put out that you may not fully and totally agree with, and the same vice versa. And it's the same way that I feel like when I'm on the internet, I'm scrolling through my feed of social media, and some people that I follow, and I handpick the people that I follow. I don't just follow anybody, but I don't agree with everything that they post. I just keep scrolling. But for some reason, there's these triggers that happen in people these days. I wonder if it's the technology that has people so on edge and so emotional. Is it the economic system? Is it the pressure of society? When you look back into the past, when they're at every civilization's golden age, it always seemed as if things were more simple and they were able to just develop that peace and that tranquility, and everything moved a lot slower. And I think as things speed up and are moving so fast right now, people are so, it's the age of information and everything is triggering everybody. It's too much. And I think it's too much input coming in right now.
It seems like people are enjoying being triggered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That there is something about that. And the question has to be, what is it that we can do? I mean, meditation is great. I mean, that should be on top of everybody's list. A healthy diet should be on top of everybody's list. And we can talk about those things.
Yeah.
But what is it that we can do as a society to pump the brakes and refocus our values?
I think that we have to find a way to start off at the young age, because when a tree is young, its limbs are very bendable. You can bend the limbs, it's okay, a sapling. But when it gets older, the limbs become hard and stiff, and you try to bend them, they snap. I think we've got to start at the younger generation. We've got to change the way our educational system runs. We got to change the way that we're parenting. We need to go through new parenting courses. We need to do a new educational system that helps develop kids in their own specialties, the things that they're good at, the things that really excite them, and encourage those things and get them to understand loving one another from a very early age. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with some of the things that society has kind of set up for us in this system, this institution of a country and countries. We have to break some of those barriers down if it's ever going to get a lot better, and allow people to develop into who they truly are, and then push them into, encourage them into what they really truly are, and find different ways of teaching. But it also encourage unity and love, and also encourage respect of other people's understandings of information, under other people's belief systems. And with that, also being of service to others. If we start that at an early age, I think we have a good chance of raising a future generation that will then propagate that down the line, and maybe we can see some serious change in the future.
There is another issue that is here, but we just didn't realize in 1995. And I wrote about this pretty extensively over the last month, and I've been speaking about this, but this is the reality that we find ourselves in, that since the year, we can go with 1990. It's a nice round number. We're in the year 2020. That means, the internet really took off in 1995, 1994 with AOL and chat rooms and things.
Mm-hmm.
But we now have people on this planet, generations, 30 years old, that have only experienced the internet age.
Yeah.
You and I, we know what the world was like before.
Yeah.
But they don't. Their reality, their understanding of what reality is a world with the internet.
Yeah.
We have to, as people that have experienced it before, we have to talk to them about that, about the world that is also out there. In addition to, there's nothing wrong with your world. There's not. But we need to embrace the fact that they are the ones that are going to possess this world. You and I are going to be gone.
Yeah.
We need to make sure, because like it or not, it's their world now. What they do with it moving forward is up to them. It's at this crucial point where we need to talk about service to others, what's important to this planet, your consciousness, and that there is a real world that you can touch and love and understand that isn't a part of your cell phone and the world of likes and subscriptions and tweets and retweets and blocking and fire. So all of that, it's just a bizarre thing, but we created the world for them. Now we need to help them understand it, because this world is theirs after you and I leave.
Absolutely. That's why I try to encourage people to travel. Obviously, travel is a little bit restricted right now because of this situation that we're in. That's why I used to always say travel while it's still legal. But traveling, getting out in nature, even if you can't leave your country, getting out in nature, being part of nature, touching and feeling the real solid world, taking off your shoes, grounding your feet to the earth, going to the beach, watching the ocean, going to the wilderness, watching the mountains or climbing a mountain, whatever, anything to get plugged back into nature and disconnect from the virtual world every now and then would do a great deal of help. I know some people that have not only not left their zip code, but have rarely ever stepped one foot outside. They purely live in a virtual world. Everything that they know, all their friends and everything is inside of a plastic box, which we call a computer or a cell phone. And I think that we've got to find a way to get them out back, plugged back into nature. I think that's a big part of it. You're right.
Well, and it sounds so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it could be that simple. That's the thing. It could actually be that simple. There's another part of this, Billy, that again we need to address, and that is, yes, over the last, we're moving into October,
Yeah.
we're moving into 2021. The majority of this planet has dealt with 2020 most of the year in lockdown, away from their coworkers, away from their schoolmates, spending way too much time in the house on the internet, like this show tonight. And Disclosurefest last year enjoyed. You and I were there together. It was amazing. 20,000 people. Yeah. Outdoors, experiencing life, dancing, laughing, yoga, meditations, artwork, speaking, music, an absolute glorious day.
Yeah.
This year, this festival, just like everything else in the world, everything got shut down. Yeah. Everything, sports, entertainment, television, news is being broadcast from people's homes. And to go with that is the individuals are also spending too much time now at home on the internet. Right. And maybe not having the best of times there as well. And it's going to have its effect, isn't it? How can we change that? People are going to leave the cave, right? They're going to go out and say, oh, there is a world out here. I remember this place.
Yeah. Well, now that some of the restrictions have freed up a little bit, I really encourage people to get outside, go for a walk in your neighborhood. If your neighborhood's not that safe in some situations, I can understand that. Try to get, somebody to pick you up, or try to find a way to get a ride down to a park, go to a beach, go to a camping ground, go to anywhere that you can, and just try to get out. Even if it's to, there's a lot of parks that are open now. They're opening back up parks a lot, at least down here they are. Just try to get outside and get some fresh air. Even if it's just 30, 40 minutes, an hour, just try to unplug yourself. And then before you plug back in, and then when you do plug back in, the thing about the internet right now is, that's why I'm glad we have Disclosurefest. Disclosurefest is about enlightenment, ascension, positive information, something that you can grab onto and learn from. But there's so much other content out there that's detrimental to you. And so we've got to find a way to tell people, like, look, don't spend all your energy and time on all these negative posts and information that are on the internet. If anything, just take a break from those. If you're going to stay online, go to some positive pages that put out, affirmations, things that are going to give you some self-help. Go Google, parenting tips and things like that. Go work on yourself on the internet. Since you're going to be on the internet anyway, you might as well take your time to not focus on a bunch of junk that's going to harm you consciously. Focus on things that are going to uplift you, enlighten you. Do some research on some things you may have had questions about in the past. Spend time looking for things and working on things that are going to help you become a better person, instead of going down the regular normal track of getting caught up in street fights and police fights and crime and murders and everything else, and all the crazy stuff that's going on out here right now. Try to take some time away from that. Even I had to unplug from that. I was seeing so much negativity that it was getting me so caught up and so mentally destroyed. I had to even stop and just take a step back myself. And I actually made a post on Facebook I said, for 120 days, I'm only posting positive information. I can't take
That's
it.
That's it. That's it.
know?
That's it. I've chosen to go that route too. And I did it naturally in that I didn't have anybody warn me. I didn't read. I didn't see a video. No, it was, I could tell the changes that were happening with me. I mean, physical changes, not feeling good. Yeah. And I just went back, and I'll just give this advice to everybody. If you don't want to read somebody's post or the content, that mute, right? Unfollow. They don't need to know that you're not friends. Just don't read their, it's just mute, unfollow, mute, unfollow, mute, unfollow. It's your friend. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that my news feed is a bunch of unicorns and rainbows, right? But it's close. And I would rather read about unicorns and rainbows and kittens and dogs and children and people cooking food. I would much rather read that than negativity, because it started to affect me. I want to change gears, but actually follow up with what you just said. And I thought you were going to go there. So let's back up for a second. Sure. About 6 months ago, at the beginning of the coronavirus, the beginning of the pandemic, you were on a Fade to Black. Yeah. And we were just having a conversation like we're having now. And I said, so Billy, I got all this free time, right? What should I be doing? And you said, you know what? Now's the time. I want to expand on this. Yeah. You said, now's the time for anybody listening to my voice. You always wanted to start a company. Mm-hmm. You always wanted to write a book. Yeah. You always wanted to make a video. You always wanted to learn how to knit. You always wanted to do, there was something that you wanted to do, but you never had the time. Right. Don't use that as an excuse, because that's not an excuse anymore, is it?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of people got some money from, some government money or some unemployment money. And I know a few people, and unfortunately, they really didn't do anything with it, other than, of course, they pay some of their bills and put some food in their bellies. But for $75 in most states, you can form a corporation. Mm-hmm. You can file for an EIN tax number for free with IRS.gov. Doesn't cost you any money. You can answer the questions yourself. Doesn't take a genius to do that either. So for less than $100, you can actually start a corporation in the United States. And then you could begin to, create your own website. You could go to Wix.com and create a website for $25 a month, $10. I mean, there's so many things you can do. And a lot of people, the majority of people really want to start something for themselves and just never do it. I mean, I have people that contact me for 5 years. There's one person, I'm starting next week. It's been next week for 5 years,
Right.
And we've got to recognize that there's windows of opportunity in this lifetime. And windows open, but windows also close. And sometimes something that can seem so negative and so awful, like a pandemic that happened and shut down the whole country, in a lot of situations, for some people, it could be a blessing to let them focus on themselves, to let them focus on starting a business, to let them focus on their children. So many kids are being babysat every single day by video games. The mother and father go to work, they come home, they put food in the kid's belly, the kid plays video games morning till night. That's their babysitter, that's their teacher, that's their mother and their father. I have seen some friends of mine who've now spent more time with their children during the pandemic, talking to them, walking with them, taking them outside to play, throw the baseball around like the olden days, and stuff like that. And man, so you have to see there's always good in everything. You have to find the good. And how can we take advantage of this pandemic situation and make it work for ourselves for the better? And I think the people who did that are going to come out on the other side of this thing light years ahead.
And there's and staying on the subject, I remember, I'm just going to let the audience know, Billy and I have some pretty dynamic conversations over the phone, and it always seems to, most of them happen when I'm driving or he's driving. But I was driving, talking to you a couple of weeks ago, and you said something to me that was so moving. And I want to try to put this in words the way that you and I were talking about it. But that is this pandemic's going to be over. Mm-hmm. It's not going to last forever. And you don't want to be walking out your front door ready to head back into the real world in last place. Mm. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to see everybody racing by you. You need to be doing stuff now.
Yep.
Whatever it is, you need to be doing it now, because you don't want to just stroll into traffic because you're going to get run over.
That's right. That's no doubt. That's exactly what's going to happen. Some people are going to be light years ahead, and some people are going to be, unfortunately, light years behind.
Mhm.
And because they didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were given to them during this pandemic. And for example, I could have just sat back and relaxed. I didn't have to do anything. I could have just went through this. I was prepared for a collapse of any kind. I could have just sat back and relaxed. I worked twice as hard during this pandemic than I did before the pandemic got here.
So did I. So did Rita. We haven't stopped. We haven't had any time off. You know, and that's it. You know, because it's you don't want to next year, when everything is fine, pandemic's over, the world didn't end, everything is back, and you don't want to sit back and go, man, I should have wrote that book last summer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't write the book. I had all that time off.
Yeah.
Instead I binged 8 years of Star Trek. Right. right.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I have right now 11 books in editing right now.
11
books in editing. Yeah.
Am I writing the forwards to all of those books?
I would love you to write the forwards to those books. It would be exciting especially because a lot of them are about ancient Egypt, and you've become pretty well astute on ancient Egypt now. So that would be phenomenal.
Everybody can go and what we're talking about here, Billy's book. I have it right there here in the bunker. The compendium of the Emerald Tablets and Thoth. And that book, big seller, bestseller, all of that. Congratulations on the success of the book. But Billy said, hey, Jimmy, would you write the forward? I said, it would be an honor. I mean, the book is great, and I had the advanced copies of the book, right? And writing the forward to that book, because, and this is what's so important. Yes, I wrote the forward to the book, but I read it so many times. We talked about it so many times over the last few years. Mm-hmm. What I didn't plan on in writing the forward to the book, and what that book is about, is that we would be living that book today in 2020.
That's right.
Crazy, isn't it?
That's crazy. It's incredible. I mean, that book taught me and you so many lessons, and so many other people now, so many lessons. And it really warned us about this exact situation, the time we're in, the mindset we need to be in, how to battle through the darkness, or the brothers of darkness, or the dark brothers, how to ascend to the light, how to seek consciousness, how to take take advantage of the time you have. All those things are there. How to, keep your body healthy. How to enjoy tranquility and peace, how to bring that to yourself, how to law of attraction, bring those things into your reality tunnel during these tough and hard times, and how to overcome them, and how to talk yourself through those times using cymatic frequencies to make those negative vibes flee away and only stay focused on positive.
And what's funny is this is an opportunity for people like you and you directly and myself to sit back and go, I told you so. But that's not right. That doesn't help anybody.
No.
The point is, when I mentioned that we were warned in the book is right now. Warned isn't the right word, but the book was the tools for preparation for what we are going through today. And you don't ever want to have to use those tools, right?
Yeah,
you don't. But that's not where we need to be right now in the I told you so moment. The message needs to be to everybody is, look, this is a reality that we find ourselves in today. We have talked about it over the years, but we are here now. And if you ever had any questions or doubts or anything like that, don't freak yourself out. There's no reason to go there, but just know that the world isn't what it seems to be, right? And it's certainly not what we are told. And we know how to move forward. Isn't it really that easy?
It really is. I mean, that's exactly what it's all about. Sometimes we try to overcomplicate things and we think too much. And when you start thinking too much, things become so obscure when it really is very simple. I mean, and people ask me a lot, how do you raise your vibration? How do you do all these things? How do you help people? I tell them it's very simple. First, imagine unconditional love for yourself. That means no matter what you've done wrong in the past, you forgive yourself. You forgive yourself. Don't wait for some other thing or entity or person to forgive you. You have to forgive yourself first, and forgive yourself for those things. Have confidence in yourself, and then now take that same exact mentality. And when you're having unconditional love for you, you're going to treat yourself like you love yourself. Now do that outside. Now give that same love to others. And then it becomes contagious. It becomes like a positive virus, and it moves through other people and other places. And then eventually we have a planet full of people loving one another in unity, love, and peace. And eventually we're going to get there.
Yeah, and there's no question about that. And the other thing is this: being bad or doing the wrong thing is easy. Mm-hmm. That's easy. Anybody can do it. Yeah. Doing the right thing, being good by others, being of service to others, it's opening your mind and consciousness and understanding the world and loving this planet. That's hard. Yeah. That's not easy. That's work. Yeah. But it pays off. And in the end, you're more pure inside. It reflects outwardly. Certainly diet has a big part of this, which is what I want to talk about next. And it's this: if anybody out there that's watching you and I right now has any doubts at all, take a good look at Billy Carson, because Billy Carson is 126 years old, and people don't know that. Billy's 126 years old. Oh, man. How do you do it, man?
Well, it's for the majority of my life, I primarily ate a plant-based diet. I wasn't always 100% plant-based, but for the majority. So, even if you add up all of any animal products that I have consumed over the last 50 years, it would have to say probably maybe 8%. Mm-hmm. So it's not about being 100% vegan, because some people I found out can't be a 100% vegan. I actually know two people in my life right now, two good friends of mine, that are both allergic to most plants, in other words, most salads they can't consume. Wow. Allergic reactions, and most fruits. One person can only eat pineapple and peaches.
Well, that's not bad. I mean,
those are two good things. Yeah, but
it could be worse.
So, right. But if you can incorporate a plant-based diet into your life, into what you're doing, and reduce the amount of meat intake, you'll find that you'll be a lot more healthy. Your skin will have a lot more natural oils in them. Your heart and your blood vessels will be clear of any plaque. So what I've done is I've started a plant-based cooking channel. I have the Instagram account Plant-Based Alternatives for like the last 3 years. I think it's almost at 1 million now. Mm-hmm. And we give recipes every day, 3 to 4 recipes a day of plant-based meals that look phenomenal. Not just a whole bunch of lettuce, like real solid, like hearty meals that you can eat that you'd be like, wow, I can't believe this is plant-based. And so now I've taken it to another level. And on Forbidden Knowledge TV, I now have plant-based cooking with Chef Abdul. He's my personal chef. And so he comes to my house, and we record some of the episodes here, right in my own kitchen, with him cooking plant-based meals.
Now, how's it taste?
Phenomenal.
And see, this is the thing. For those out there that are thinking about vegetarian, right? Maybe not full on vegan, but they're in that transition phase, and they may have a bad experience with that type of cooking, where they're used to, something else, right? What are these recipes like?
Well, they're phenomenal because Chef Abdul uses Caribbean seasoning, okay? And so these Caribbean seasonings, like Scotch bonnet peppers, all these different types.
His name's Abdul.
Yeah, Abdul.
And he's a Caribbean chef.
Yes.
Okay, that's another show. We'll do that later.
Another show. But he's a great guy. Right. And very intelligent, very astute guy. I mean, really intelligent guy. And a real master chef. He's a chef to a lot of stars. He's been Puff Daddy chef, or Combs, Sean Combs,
right?
Just Rico Love, many other famous people, and now he's mine. So, but the reason why everybody loves him is because he cooks with seasoning, and his food is well seasoned and well flavored. So it's like, wow, when you bite into something, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this, and it's phenomenal, So we've got.
Well, this is the thing, Billy. is talking to the majority of the people that are going to be watching us today are part of Disclosure Fest, and they are vegetarians or they are vegans, right? This conversation needs to reach beyond that because they already get it, right? They already get it, right? It needs to go out and beyond that, and that's the thing. Adrian, who is going to be listening to this conversation later, he's going to laugh. But Adrian has introduced me to some amazing food,
Wow.
and that's when we are talking about UFOs, or we're talking about conspiracy theories, or we're talking about consciousness. We're talking about service to others and feeding. Well, generally speaking, we're speaking to an audience that already gets it.
Yeah.
I've said this to you many times. I need the people that don't know what we're talking about to listen to this program.
Yeah.
I need that person that goes that eats fast food every single day. That's who I need to talk to, right? That's who needs to get this message, and I think that's most important. Yeah. So these new recipes from Chef Abdul, somebody that has never cooked like this before, would be introduced to something where they would go, okay, I could actually work with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about the fact that it's on the Forbidden Knowledge TV network is it's on Apple TV, it's on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and of course, many, the Amazon app, the iPhone app and the Android app. So these are people can find this cooking show on my TV network without even knowing who Forbidden Knowledge is, without knowing anything about Disclosurefest or Jimmy Church. They might not even be in the conscious community, so to speak. They could have stumbled across it looking for something to watch on TV, and now they're watching plant-based cooking with Chef Abdul.
Now, what have you learned when Chef Abdul leaves? Do you cook? Do you try to do what he does?
We've worked on a couple of things. Me and my girl have worked on a couple of things, and it's been pretty exciting because adding the Scotch bonnet pepper to a lot of different meals just takes it to another level. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal just to add the Scotch bonnet. Just that alone adds like 15 flavors to something, but also understanding like how to wash your fruits and vegetables, how to keep them stored longer by adding colloidal silver to the water when you rinse them. Now, I sell colloidal silver, and I never even knew that by adding colloidal silver to my fruits and vegetables in the washing process will extend their lives. So all these things I've learned from watching Chef Abdul, and how to prepare food in the right way, what types of fruits and vegetables to pick versus ones that can be more contagious and things like that.
Man, that's a good looking pepper, man.
Oh, the Scotch. Oh, listen.
I'm looking at it right here.
It's phenomenal.
So yellow or orange, which ones are yours?
They're both. They come like mixed in a bag.
Yeah. I see it here. Yellow. Oh, there's some green.
There's some green, a little bit of green, a little red,
some
orange,
purple. Yeah. Is it hot?
Oh, it's hot, man. Don't bite. Don't just grab one and bite right into it, bro. I'm just telling you.
It's just a spice.
Listen, it takes a little bit to season a whole pot. That's how powerful this thing is.
Oh man, I love cooking with peppers.
Try the Scotch bonnet. You won't regret it.
Now, let's talk about Forbidden Knowledge TV. This is your new network that we've been a part of since it started, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
Pretty exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But let's talk about that for a second. How can everybody sign up and go check it out?
Well, they just go to forbiddenknowledge.tv with the number 4. Or they can put forbiddenknowledge.tv on the website browser, on their phone, or wherever. Or if you have Apple TV or Roku or Amazon Fire TV, you can just go on there and search for the apps and just search for Forbidden Knowledge TV with the number 4. It'll come up with the blue logo with the Eye of Horus, and it'll have a TV in red right there. Just add it. It's a free app. You add it, and then you can actually click on and register, and you can get 3 days free. If you have it on your phone, you can just stream it right to your TV if you have Google Chrome or a Roku box.
Or Apple TV,
Apple TV, you can stream it to your TV as well. But it's very versatile, very easy to get access to it. Right now, there's 2,120 shows and a little over 10,000 subscribers. So it's growing very fast. We're very excited. And we've got a lot of great new series coming out, a couple of exclusive documentaries, a couple of exclusive films that have been put up there now. I'm getting more license to more films, independent films. So it's going to grow, man. This is going to be phenomenal.
And the content that's on there, how do you break it down?
Well, it's broken down by lectures and workshops, interviews, podcasts, documentaries, yoga, work, exercise videos, health, financial, right down the list. There's so many aspects, cooking shows, obviously now. So just a lot of different areas in there.
Now, I just want to ask you this because you're the CEO of a television network now. Is this, do you break it down? You look at the numbers. What are people most interested in when they come over to Forbidden Knowledge TV? What knowledge are they seeking?
The number one TV series right now is my Egyptian Mystery School.
I knew it. I knew it.
Right away. Yeah, 20 episodes.
What is it about Egypt, man? I mean, it's my favorite thing to talk about. It's your favorite thing to research and talk about. The fans. What is it?
It's so mysterious and so intriguing, esoteric, and eccentric at the same time. It's so much to it, and so much science and technology involved in it, because I explain it from a point of understanding the physics and how the physics that they're talking about is what we see today. And I compare the two and show them side by side. This is what they were talking about back then. This is how they implemented this back then. This is how the spirituality worked. And if you look at physics right now and understand how electromagnetism works, you can see how it actually is applicable. It's not just a mysterious, magical thing that happens. It's actually real science. And so I plug it in that way. And so right now, I think episode 20 or 21 is up, and we got about another 60 episodes to go. They're in editing right now. So it's a huge series. I think it's over 36 hours of Egyptian Mystery School.
The Egyptians knew what they were doing when it came to art and sculpture and the intrinsic value of the aesthetic. They knew how to grab your emotions.
Yeah.
I am exactly like everybody else on this planet. And that goes back to Napoleon or Plato. It doesn't matter who you want to talk about. Yeah. Is that I remember seeing, I was probably 10 years old, and I'm looking at King Tut's sarcophagus, the gold face, and I'm looking at that, and it sucked me in. There's something about it. I'm like, man, I got to get some of this. I've got to go and this is beautiful. This, and then you find out later that it's 4,000 years old, 3,500 years old.
Right.
Wait a minute here. We don't have anything this beautiful today.
I know.
We don't do this. They did before they were supposed to, right? The rest of the world, Billy, was running around in animal skins, foraging for seeds in the dirt, living in mud huts, and the Egyptians were crafting this kind of artwork that would affect us all the way to today.
Yeah, it's incredible. When I went to Australia in the beginning of this year, right before this pandemic occurred, I was out there looking for these proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs out in this area called Carryong 9 that I had talked about for so many, really over a decade. I had talked about it. I've been on many TV shows talking about it, and even your radio show talking about it before.
Right.
And I finally got a chance to go out there during the fires, and fires all around us. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to one other site because the fires had already consumed that area. But we did get to the one main glyphs, and these glyphs have been now verified by the Board of Antiquities at the Cairo Museum that they are authentic Proto-Egyptian glyphs, and they can be dated because of the patina inside the glyphs. So we have the dating is accurate. So 5,000 years ago, Egyptians were leaving Egypt and going down to Australia to sit with Aboriginal elders to gain wisdom and knowledge and exchange with them and trade with them. I mean, it's incredible. That's a long time ago to be making trips like that, And I mean, not just one, but the glyphs represent literally hundreds of trips back and forth over thousands of years. And it only ended when somebody stole something from the Aboriginals about 1,000 years ago, close to 1,000 years ago, and then they told them they couldn't come anymore.
Now, with the beginning of the dynastic period, okay, going back to Mene, right, the first king of Egypt, the first documented king of Egypt, right? Okay, all right. Apparently, around the year 3000 BC. Okay, the dating could be off; it doesn't matter. But if we just stay with that 3000 BC, how is it possible from 3000 BC forward that Egypt was correct? They already had everything,
Yeah.
right? They had religion and schools and laws and science and engineering. They had mathematics. They had every art, right? Entertainment. They had everything in play, writing,
Yeah.
right? They had everything in play. How is it possible that they came out of the desert, if you believe,
Yeah.
The historians, that they just came out of the desert and one day they were off to the races and that's just the way it was? Was there something that was happening before 3000 BC where this education was ongoing to allow them to hit the ground running at 3000 BC?
Well, according to the Sumerian tablets, and also according to the animal tablets, civilization started much earlier, tens of thousands of years ago, and they originated out of the Mesopotamia region, but then expanded out into other areas, including Egypt and Africa, which Egypt is in Africa, but in just a specific area. A lot of the knowledge was there. The Great Flood happened, according to these tablets, according to many cultures around the world. Egypt became a place full of mud. Everything was washed over. The gods, for these, the Naturu, whoever you want to call them, the Anunnaki, Atlanteans, whatever you want to call them, they came down and they said, we're going to rebuild this area. They rebuilt Egypt, or at that time it was called the land of Chem. They rebuilt the land of Chem and they brought the knowledge and wisdom back to the people and raised it back, it says, to a high level of civilization, meaning it had already been at a high level before.
Right.
So they took it back to where it was, and it was already all the information, all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the technology was reinstalled back in that region. And so by the time of the beginning of the dynastic era, they had already inherited what was already there.
So Lemuria, Atlantis, whatever you want to call, when you're referring to the Great Flood, are we talking about those catastrophes? Are we talking about Lemuria and Atlantis and other advanced civilizations from the distant past?
I think that this flood, this global Great Flood, happened a couple times. I think there was one that was a complete global flood that could be that Lemuria Atlantean age. And then there may have been another one that may have not covered the entire planet, but a vast majority of the planet. Not all of it, though, because there seems to be some areas where there is no flood story, and you can see a consistent flow of history going all the way back. But when you look in other certain regions, you find that there seems to be a great flood or a flood in that area. And people may have thought from their perception that it was an entire planetary flood, when it could have been just a massive region where there was a flood. So I think there was a few floods over, maybe two, maybe even potentially three, a third smaller one, over the course of 40,000 years.
Now, of course, we have Egypt and we have Mesopotamia and we have Sumer and the information that is pretty solid as far as being documented. If we just go with a pragmatic black and white historical perspective, we are able to go back to 3000 BC and look at these different cultures. But we were also told that nothing happened before then. So there wasn't any Atlantis. There's nothing to discuss here. There was no advanced anything. And then, as it turns out, 7,000 years prior to ancient Sumer and Giza, we have Göbekli Tepe.
Right.
And it wasn't supposed to exist. But it wasn't a couple of weeks before Mene, right? It was 7,000 years. And not that far from Giza, not that far from, it's not quite walking distance, but it's certainly in the neighborhood.
Right.
The construction of Göbekli Tepe, are we looking at the same ancient civilizations that taught Mesopotamia and the people of Giza and the Nile Valley, where their knowledge came from? Is there a relationship here?
I believe that it's the same exact people.
Right.
brought that knowledge globally. When you look at those columns in Göbekli Tepe and you see the inscriptions on them, the glyphs on them, a lot of similarities to glyphs that are in Egypt, a lot of similarities to glyphs that are in Cambodia.
Hmm.
Even, for example, there's dinosaurs etched, dinosaur glyphs on those columns, and similar dinosaur glyphs etched into temples in Cambodia. When I was in Cambodia a few years ago, out in the jungle, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, there obviously had to be people walking amongst dinosaurs to know what they look like with meat on the bones. I think it was the same people. And when you look at the ancient story of Thoth, when he tells his crew members, so to speak, that after we build up Kem, I want you guys to travel around the world and duplicate what we did here. I think they took that same knowledge and they went around the planet and duplicated. And that's why we see everything kind of start up from there and then expand out around the planet.
Do you think in the couple of minutes that we have left, and I want to thank you for another amazing conversation, Billy, just absolutely fantastic. Do you think that the knowledge out of the library in Alexandria, we've all been told it was burned to the ground. Do you think any of that was spirited away and not only hidden, but into other countries, and it's going to reveal itself one day, or is it all gone?
I think the Library of Alexandria burning was a book heist, a knowledge heist. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but I think that, yes, some books burned, and yes, there was a real fire and it did burn down. But I think that was a distraction for the theft of the knowledge, because that place was full of too much knowledge and people had their eyes on that knowledge. They knew that knowledge was power. How can we take this knowledge away and take this power out of this region and divide it up amongst ourselves, or maybe take it into another place, maybe even hide it to prevent advancement of mankind for any particular agenda that they may have had.
Mhm.
But I do believe that it was a knowledge heist.
Well, if we're ever going to take away a lesson from the past, and we were so close, well, we're still there. We haven't quite lost it yet. We're trying to mess things up.
Yeah.
It just seems like we're doing our best to mess it up. But the library at Alexandria was like the colors of Benetton, right? It was the coalition of everything from around the world. Bring it here. Let's get together. Let's discuss it. And let's teach each other from our different cultures and our different lands. You come from these distant places. Let's get together here, and look what they ended up building, right? Divided, we're strong, right? Yeah, I mean, divided, we're not strong. United, we are strong, right? And that's exactly what happened in Alexandria, and that's what made it so great. And that's what made the United States great and other countries around the world, right? Being different is the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, if you would pull up to, the dock at Alexandria, your admission fee to actually dock your boat and get off was you had to bring knowledge. You had to bring books.
That's right.
Yeah. If you didn't bring books, you couldn't even come in there, So I mean, this place was, I wish I could just go back in time right now. Oh my God, I wish I could go back in time.
Where would you go? We've got just a minute left, Billy, 2 minutes left. I love this question. I get asked of me all the time, right? Jimmy, if you had a time machine. Billy, if you had a time machine, where do you go? And be very specific.
I would go back to Mesopotamia at the time that the Estes epic and the Enuma Elish say that the Anunnaki developed the advanced civilization, the street grid, the cities, the plumbing system, all that. I want to see it all.
Really?
Yeah.
I would, my thing, and because we don't know the exact date, I could go back and miss it and not be at the right time. But quite honestly, I'd want to go to Giza. I want to be right there. I want to see how they built the pyramids. I want to see it in real time.
Right.
But we don't. They say it was 2650 BC, right? So if I go back to 2650 BC and they're already built,
you'd be
for the opportunity. I need the exact date, but that's what I would do. I would really want to know how they built the pyramids right there in the Giza Plateau.
Yeah, be phenomenal. Yeah.
I'll bet you money. You go back 6,000 BC, the Sphinx is already there. I'll bet you money on it, Billy. I bet you.
Oh, for sure.
It's already there. Maybe 10,000 BC. It's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah.
I think that the Sphinx is about 36,000 years old, because I think if you go back 2 processional periods, you're right around 36,000 at the perfect time to build the Sphinx. At 13,000, we have the Ice Age, not a good time. Another processional period back, as it aligns with the constellation of Leo, a lot of turmoil, a lot of extinctionary events happening on the planet, not a good time. You go back one more processional period, perfect time to build a Sphinx. And I think it's right around the time that the Great Pyramid was built as well.
Thank you so much, Billy. Be safe and be well. What's the immediate plans besides trying to survive 2020 and get into 2021, which can't happen soon enough?
Oh, yeah. Well, just immediate plans are just continue to build Forbidden Knowledge TV, to acquire and license more content, to develop more content for the TV network, to get it out there more, and bring as many people to consciousness as we possibly can. Enlightenment through entertainment.
Everybody here at Disclosurefest, we thank you. We thank you for your support. It's too bad that you and I aren't walking around with thousands of other people here in Los Angeles and hanging out, but we will do it soon enough. Okay, Billy, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Peace.
Billy Carson. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Disclosurefest. I'm going to hand it back to Adrian and the crew.